afternoon, everybody. Bill Thornton, SoCal Saber here. Thanks for stopping by the channel. And today I have AJ on with me, my friend. Glad to have you on today, AJ.
Glad to be here.
All right, we're going to wait. We don't have anybody watching. Let's wait a couple minutes or so before we start, because it'll record later on YouTube and then be up.
No worries.
Well, first one I had that I haven't had anybody on right away. Wait one more minute and we'll get her going and get out of here. If nobody has any questions, it'll be a short video. Oh, we got one person watching us now. Whoever it is, come on. You text us hello. Let's see who we are. Let us know where you're from. Okay, anyway, we'll get started. AJ and I went up to Vegas this weekend. We participated in an APBA baseball tournament. It's a lot of fun. We'll talk more as we go through. This was my fifth tournament, and I think this was AJ's first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you apprehensive going into it a little bit?
I was a little nervous. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
and even after. Go on.
Go ahead.
I said even after my first game, still a little nervous. Got shut out 5-0, so I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I remember going to my first tournament was in Westminster, Southern California. My biggest apprehension, I guess, was I was meeting a whole new bunch of people, and I was afraid of, there's going to be a bunch of stuck-up, but I found out that the APBA community, a really bunch of really nice guys. Whoever was here left us already. So here we go. So anyway, we're gonna show you some slides and talk about the tournament as we get going here. Whoever that was left. All right. Like I said, we went up there to the Vegas 2022 Vegas tournament on the 26th and 27th of July, hosted by Chris White. Chris does a really good job in hosting. The stipulation for team picks this year was you had to have a team between 1950 and 1980 with a 500 to 550 winning percentage. That was a doozy, and I wasn't sure how this was going to work out, but I'll save those comments a little bit later too on that. Do you have anything you want to say on that one, AJ?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. This was when we got it a little bit early. This was the schedule that was provided for us, so who they played. I don't know if you can see my pointer or not. This is me and the 68 Giants, and then I would go all the way across here. The blue indicates that if you were a home team, and if you were the home team, then you got to pick whether DH or non-DH. Okay, we had 28 people signed up for it, but one person got ill just before the tournament, and so he had to drop out. And the director, Chris White, dropped out too to keep it even, to make it 26. We still played 12 games, but it was at 26. Did you have a hard time figuring the schedule out at all, AJ?
No, it was really handy, like going in, kind of knowing who your opponents are going to be.
Right, especially if you want to research them in that. Then the other thing Chris White does is this is just a little bit of flavor text in that he gave us this here. This was his predictions, his odd predictions of the teams that would win, or what the odds were of them winning the tournament. As you can see, I'm up there, and I was at 10-1, and AJ was at 12-1 going into the tournament. But we'll let you know how those odds turned out in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to AJ a little bit. He can talk about the next couple slides.
So I picked the 69 Pirates, and like he said, I got 1 in 12 odds, so it kind of made me feel better about my pick. The two teams I was the most nervous facing off were the two Dodgers teams, both the 75 and the 57 Dodgers. I was scared to see. But I really would win one, would lose one, really kind of stayed at about 500 until towards the end of the tournament when I was 7-5 with so many others.
Ah, all right. Well, next one. All right.
So I would say Richie Hebner would be my MVP. He really surprised me. Um, so did Jerry May. I took Jerry May for his defense over Manny. Luckily, I only played 2 games that didn't have DH, so Manny was in most of my games. He contributed, gave me a grand slam. And Roberto Clemente with a walk-off hero.
Do you have any spots that you were like you thought were the weakest spots in your team that you didn't have a chance to be able to improve on?
Bill Mazeroski, I knew he wasn't going to hit well, but his defense, I just had to have him. The biggest surprise is probably Willie Stargell with no home runs being really held down, but everybody else really came through for me.
Cool. All right. Let's take a look at your pitching.
So some tough losses, especially for my number one starter, Bob Moose. You can see he went 0-3 with a 3.13 ERA. Some close games. Bob Vail was my number 2. He did really well. Doc Ellis, he was a C. He gave me what I expected out of him. But Bob Moose was probably the hard luck pitcher of the tournament for me.
Oh, cool. All right. All right, let's take a look at what I brought into the tournament. Okay, this is the 1968 Giants. Well, if anybody that watches this knows that I'm a Detroit Tiger fan, they say, why didn't you pick a Tiger team? Well, that stipulation of 1950 to 1980 and then 550 to 500 to 550, my Tiger teams were either better than that or they were later than 1980. So I decided, well, I don't want to buy a new season. I don't want to hunt for a new team. I'll just use a team that I already have at home. I went through them. I originally was going to pick the 61 Braves, but when I looked at their pitching, I said, no, I ain't going to pick them. So I picked the 68 Giants primarily because of their pitching. And as you can see, this is not the playoffs. This is not there. You can see Bobby Bonds, he really did a good job at 415 on base percentage leading off. You know, a lot of the guys, you can look over to the right and see that he's struck out 15 times. And I don't know how many different opponents would say, oh, you got Bonds, the strikeout king. But I didn't say, hey, yeah, he can strike out 15 times, but look at that 415. You know, and look at that on base percentage. Then Ron Hunt. What a nice surprise he was for me, batting second. I didn't expect him to get 360, but you know, he got that 360. If you look over there, he walked 3 times. And he also got hit by pitches 3 times. But that's getting on, you know. Mays, you know, look, the Mays and McCovey's batting averages are almost what they were on the card, you know, at the end of these 12 games. I wish that Mays could have been a little bit better. So, you know, I don't know whether, you know, he had 4 home runs and 10 RBIs. McCovey had 2 and 9. So, you know, maybe I'll just say they were co-MVPs. Jim Rayhart, he started off really slow in the 12 games, and then he came on to make it to 245. My weakest spot in this lineup was down there, Hal Lanier at shortstop. You know, he was a 9 defense, and I was fighting the whole day to stay at 36, 37 defense just to stay at defense 2. I would have loved to get a better bat in there for Lanier, but if I did, it would have definitely taken me to defense 3. And I didn't want to go there at all because there's just too much in that. So that was my worst. I think Dick Dietz, the catcher, surprised me a little bit with his hitting. But other than that, no. And I think I'm going to my pitching next, or I'm not sure which way I'm going. Oh, these are the playoff batting stats. And as you can see, Bonds took a big drop in his. Mays was up there. McCovey was up there. Jim Rayhart was up there. but the number of hits weren't that great, you know. So that was the batting stats for the playoffs. You know, I'll talk a little bit more about the playoffs since I'm on it before I went on there, because we've got a couple of people watching now. There was 26 players going, and there was going to be 8 playoff spots. Now with this 500 to 550, this is the one thing I wasn't sure going winning percentage that we had to have a team in there for of how that was going to work. Well, it worked out more than even the directors expected. The top 3 teams were all 9-2. Then there were 8 teams tied at 7-5. Okay, so the 4th slot was and the 5th slots were given to the 7-5 teams with the best winning best run differentials. Okay, then the next 6 we had to play a 1-up game, 1 in a rut game against an opponent that one of the other 7-5s to get the final 3 slots. And I was lucky enough to be able to get into the final playoffs. We'll talk about the playoffs here in a second. I'm going to show you my pitching. You see, I got a lot of Marshall pitched in 9 games. You know, that was kind of crazy because you had a 3-man rotation. You could only do it every you had to play 3 and then start the rotation. But when you went into the playoffs, your ace could be the number 1 starter in every playoff series. So that's why he's got so many 9 games up there. And he did a good job. 5-1, 1.96. You know, couldn't ask better than that. And Gaylord Perry, he just had a tough time. You know, and he was a B pitcher. And I had a couple A's in the bullpen that I tried to get when I tried to get Perry out after the 5th inning, according to the rules, and worked sometimes it didn't. Bob Boland did an okay job. He was an A pitcher. Frank Lindsay was an A, and he did a good job. He got 3 wins during the tournament for me. And Joe Gibbon got 2 losses, and he was an A, but he was an AW. If that W did not affect at all, I think he only walked 1 guy because of it. So that was the playoffs. Then I get into the AJ. I'll let you go to talk about because AJ was 7-5, so he got into the one game playoff thing also. So I'll let you go with yours first.
Yeah, mine was against the 62 Braves, and both of us scored in the 1st inning and then really shut each other down after. It was close. I think he scored a solo home run in the 6th, and I just couldn't do anything. But it was 3-1, really close all the way through. Had a lot of guys on. I think some weirdness like Richie Hebner tried to steal home, got caught trying to steal home with the bases loaded. Some things that are just like managers, oh, I wouldn't do that. Please don't do that. But it was still a great game. And then he would go on to see you.
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, in my play-in or play-out game, I played the 56 Tigers and beat them. I forget what the final score was to get myself into the regular playoffs. Now, the playoff rounds were the best of 3. Okay, so the first matchup I had was the 66 Tigers. The only thing I thought was, man, I don't want to lose to a Tiger team because I'm a Tiger fan. And I ended up beating them 2-0, which made me pretty happy. Then came along those 62 Braves that eliminated AJ before. It took me 3 games, but I did beat them 2-1. But I had a really funny one there, and I think the game that they beat me in was the top of the 1st, and Bonds got on and walked, and then Ron Hunt got up and he got hit by a pitch. So I had runners on 1st and 2nd with no outs, and Willie Mays hit it into a triple play. The first time I ever had a triple play. I just laughed my butt off about that one. But I went on to beat them 2-1 to get myself into the finals for the 2nd time in Vegas. And so I was faced up against the 65 Braves. And then the first game was kind of weird, really. Let me get this up. Get this off and I'll stop sharing and we'll get a bigger screen up here. Okay. The 65 Braves, game number 1. In the top of the 2nd, he scores 2 runs. And then in the bottom of the 2nd, Hal Lanier gets on by an error, and Dick Dietz hits a 2-run homer to tie the game up. So this is tied 2-2. I never had another hit in that game, and he scored 3 runs in the top of the 11th to win it 5-2. And I never had another hit after the Dietz home run. I think that's kind of weird too, that you play up and play that many innings without a hit. Okay, so then that was Marichal, and so he went down. So Bob Bolin come in for the final game, and he pitched a good game, and it was another good game, and I ended up losing that one 2-1 to lose the championship. So, but it was fun there. So that was my second time in 3 years that I've been second place in Vegas. So I was happy because prior to on the first day we were playing 12 games. At the 9-game mark, I was at 6-3. And I said, and I had said going in, if I can get to 8, I'm going to be in the playoffs. And so I said, I only got to win 2 out of these last 3 to get to that 8. And I lost 2 out of the last 3 to get it to 7-5 to get in that whole log jam. And so that was fun. Overall, I had a good time up there. Overall, the reason I like going to these is because the APBA baseball community is so large across the country and all of these tournaments. I play in some other baseball games where the community is really, really small, but the APBA community is really big in the tournaments. So, and if you're hesitant to go to a tournament because you don't know anybody, believe me, from what I've experienced in the 5 tournaments I've been in, the guys are all really, really helpful. To even if you're slow with your charts and everything, they're really good. They don't get mad, how slow you are and everything. Great guys, great time. Don't hesitate going back again. So what do you think, AJ?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've only been playing for maybe about a year, and that's kind of what made me nervous at first, because I knew everybody there had been playing for like years, and I was afraid that I'd be a little slow, but everybody was great. Everybody was super friendly, helpful. I really can't wait to go back and play again next year.
Yeah, I've only been playing APBA about 4 years, but I don't play it regularly. It's because I play a lot of other baseball games. So I know some of the things the dice rolls in that, but believe me, those guys up there, some of those guys, they know that book by heart. They don't even have to look it up. But if they say, okay, ground out the second, if you want to look it up, they have no problem with you looking it up. Okay, and that is pretty cool. I want to publicly thank Chris White for putting on another good show this year, and I'll be looking forward to the trophy and getting it up on my case. What about you? I got any final closing statements there, AJ?
No, I'm just had a great time. Can't wait to do it again.
All right. Thank you very much, AJ. Thanks for the people that have been out there watching, and anybody else that watches this later recorded. Go down there and hit that like button, and help the channel grow some more. So this is SoCal Saber saying take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and stay safe.